genesis of The Knock was really one of those incredibly serendipitous moments. Deborah Brevoort, the librettist and very fine playwright, came to me in my office one day a couple of years ago and told me about her time where she had been interviewing military wives and getting their stories and their viewpoints. And I was so moved by that idea, really, as a potential opera. I was so taken with it because so many stories that are about the military are about men. And what drew me to this was the story of the women and the actual event, the sort of moment, the incredibly theatrical moment of the knock, the moment when one learns of the passing of someone and the person who has to convey that to the next of kin.
I was going to homecomings for the troops. I was going to dinner parties. I was sort of like embedded in this community, just trying to get a sense of it. And one day they hooked me up to do an interview with a woman, and she was surrounded by a number of women in her group because they have these spouse clubs. And the pecking order of the military is played out amongst the wives. So she was the commander's wife, so everybody's in line with her. And she proceeds to tell me the story that is today the opera of The Knock, about a knock that had been delivered, how she was sitting with a friend. The guy came to her and she thought she was getting the knock, because as soon as somebody in that outfit steps into the room, they know what it means, right? And then how it ended up being the woman sitting next to her.
Deborah, who wrote the play, The Comfort Team, she was here writing a play for one of our local theaters, and they asked her and some local members if they knew any military spouses that they can give some, insight to the military. Certainly brought a lot of different nuances to the role that she was trying to do in being the playwright for The Comfort Team. In the military, most families know when you get that knock at the door, it's not always good news. I've had friends, we've been in houses where you see the cars pull up and you know someone is going to be affected by that news that they're going to get. And so the anxiety is just constantly there, especially when you live on a military base. And during wartime, it's more often than not. Whether it comes from a family member, someone you don't know, I think the overall emotions of that, there's just no good way to bring bad news to someone.
Well, Deborah and I had met probably 15 years ago. When she thought of The Knock and the subject matter, knowing my music, she approached me and asked whether we would collaborate.
I do a lot of development of new work. I have lost count of how many new operas I've conducted. It's definitely over a dozen, probably more than that. And I love, love, love working with composers and developing new pieces. Conducting for film is definitely not like live performance. There are many, many more moving pieces involved, many challenges involved. Some things are easier because you can plan ahead and you can edit and you can use the magic of film to hide certain kinds of things. But a lot is also much harder, especially since all of us who are live performers are trained to perform in a setting where we feel the feedback of the audience in the moment.
One of the reasons I got into opera was because I figured it was something that it's always changing, and I would always keep learning. And so that's definitely one of the reasons I focus so much on new work in my career. And it's what's gratifying about doing something like this, where we're taking the skills that we've honed in the opera house and applying it to a different medium.
It seemed to me that it could be something that would really honor the military, those who serve and their families for this country. And I believe very strongly in that as an important part of our environment and our world.
I'm Tom Reagan. I am a trustee of the Glimmerglass Opera Festival, and I am a supporter of the film The Knock, particularly since I am an Army veteran. I must say from the beginning It's important that I am a Vietnam era veteran, not a Vietnam veteran, because those who actually served in country are very particular about that, rightfully so.
I graduated from college at the height of the Vietnam War, unfortunately, in 1969, and was about to be drafted. My draft board was very keen and put me through the physical examinations and all that stuff. And so frightened of it all, I actually went and did the unthinkable. I volunteered for 2 years.
In Vietnam, I was on an aircraft carrier, and I flew search and rescue. So we were going in and getting out people who were downed and get them to some help.
My father was a career naval officer. He retired as a 2-star admiral. When I was a kid, every year we moved somewhere else, either overseas or to another Navy base. And so the impact on me was learning every 2 years to make new friends, to find a new school. And I think that was a very useful lesson in being flexible in life.
And that's when Ted told me about it. I got a little involved in myself, my heart, understanding how they would feel waiting for, and knowing that that knock might come, and wondered how my mother might feel if she had to do that, or a wife, a child, whatever. And so that got me more interested in the knock.
Seeing her get the news that her husband was one of the ones that was killed during a mission, seeing the officers come in, the anxiety just starts building up. And then when they find the person that they're there to give the news to, you get a relief that it's not you, but at the same time, your heart is just gut-wrenching for that person. I could never get through the story without tearing up. But just knowing what happened, being there, the smell, everything about that day was just, it's always like it just happened.
It's a hole that never gets filled. It's a hole that doesn't get filled with medals, with public recognition. It's very deep, it's personal, and it really doesn't heal. So what I wanted in our story is to honor the heroic act, but also I wanted that personal, very different side of the story to be recognized, to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to be honored, because this is where the real drama happens.
I hope that a piece like this goes far beyond the TV screens and video monitors and computers of opera lovers. I hope that this piece reaches those who are involved in the military so that they can see that art really can speak about their lives.